And Caitlyn Clark has another Pro-Am behind her. I'm Scott Agness of FieldhouseFiles.com here at Pelican Golf Club in Belleair, Florida here on Wednesday afternoon, where Caitlyn Clark just wrapped up another Pro-Am playing with Nelly Korda on the front nine, Lauryn Nguyen on the back nine, and an opportunity more than anything to hopefully bring attention, to bring the spotlight, to bring more eyeballs to women's golf. It's all about women's sports. That's a big initiative of Gainbridge. Yes, the Gainbridge you are familiar with, like at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, a Zionsville, Indiana-based company. Dan Tauris, the CEO, playing as with part of Caitlyn's Pro-Am here today for the second straight year. And overall, it was a great success. They teed off just after 8:30 in the morning after taking all kinds of iterations for sponsorship photos. Again, this is sponsorship obligations and opportunities that come with that. And the main one is to be showcased and bring this extra attention. Look, I'm the only basketball reporter here covering this event. Golf Channel going live for 2-3 hours in the afternoon and basically becoming a PSA for Caitlyn Clark and her fans. But the one thing that really made this, I think, even more special for Caitlyn this year was the fact that, well, in an individual sport, she was able to have some of her teammates along for the ride, as Lexie, Sophie Cunningham serving as celebrity caddies. No, they did not carry the bag. They had some cell phones, some snacks tucked away in their caddies' bibs that looked like ultimately fever jerseys here. But I think that added to this experience, and in year two for Caitlyn Clark to participate in this event. It's obviously the ANNIKA driven by Gainbridge. So last year she did play with ANNIKA Sorenstam. That was not the case this year, but it was an event that I think Caitlyn, from a golf standpoint, probably didn't feel too well about the way in which she left this course. She got here, teed off, started to hit some balls there on the range around 8 a.m. or so, teeing off after 8:30 in the morning, and by 2:30 she was off the property and headed back home. But a successful trip for her to expose the game of golf, to expose women's sports to a larger audience as a whole. Not great off the tee today. That was surprising to see, and I know it was something that frustrated her. Had a lot of question marks about her short game, to the point where, honestly, if it was 10, 20 yards off the green, she was going with her putter more so than a wedge or anything like that. Now, during the end of the front nine, she was consulting a little bit with Nelly Korda, number 2 overall player, a defending champion here for the ANNIKA, and was able to get a little bit of advice, I think, clearly. And her best tee shot of the day came on hole number 10 after changing partners, after getting a little refresher, getting an energy boost, an energy drink as well, and had a great shot. And then a few holes later, short while later, nailed probably the highlight moment for her, and that was probably about a 20-yard putt coming from the front of the green, and she completely nailed it. It was well done by her, and I think the crowd enjoyed that as well. Also at 10 of note, all of the caddies, teeing off on that one. So Lexie, Sophie Cunningham, Brianna Scurry, as well as Carson Hocevar, a NASCAR driver who has the sponsorship with Gainbridge. And man, he crushed it. He said he's barely played any golf. And in fact, they ultimately decided to use that tee shot. Caitlyn joked, yeah, I probably shouldn't have told on our group after the fact, but yes, they ended up using Hocevar's tee shot on hole number 10. Cunningham, what was funny with her, she hit it kind of into the crowd, hit a man, gave him a hug, signed some autographs. There was a couple other older men diving on the ground, pretending as if they got hit. I think they just wanted a hug or something. Meanwhile, Lexie, who plays a lot of golf, mainly because of how active and how much joy her fiance now has for the game, she topped the ball, did not hit it well. I wish she would have had a second ball to show off her skills on the golf course, because she plays a lot from what I understand, but ultimately we did not see that. But her round got over with probably about 1:30 in the afternoon. It went smoothly, it went fast, in fact, until the last hole, when there was a backup, and so they sat around on hole 18 for about 15 minutes or so. The group in front of them wanted some photos, of course, with Caitlyn, as you would imagine. I think the other thing I was observing here today was how did Caitlyn handle the physicality, I guess, and demands of walking a course like this. A lot of hills, not riding a cart or anything like that. You have a caddy, and obviously she's coming off a groin injury, ankle injury, and I think she managed just fine. But by hole 18, when there was that wait, I think the first opportunity she could to jump to a seat, she certainly took advantage of. But I mean, even I'm tired after that, and I didn't have to swing any clubs, so I can totally understand her being tired. But overall, I think just a joyful experience for all those here. It was, I think, a strategic move for Caitlyn and the other teammates not to sign any autographs, pictures during the round, but afterward they certainly did that. All of them made their way here on hole 18 to Autograph Alley and signed some autographs before wrapping up. Yes, even Caitlyn as well for several minutes. And I mean, hole 18, there were hundreds of fans surrounding the green here at 18 as Caitlyn wrapped up for the second straight year. Then they took some photos. She went inside, did some media interviews with us for about 25-minute press conference, and then she was on her way. But this was just a great experience as a whole, I think, for all involved. I thought the coverage of Golf Channel really helped elevate the sport, and also gave a lot of attention to the Fever, by the way, with all three of the players certainly actively involved. There's so many good one-liners that I thought those here on the grounds in the gallery are able to maybe hear something you don't necessarily get at games when there's thousands of fans on top of each other and music is blasting as well. But just so many notable moments that you'll be able to hear in my highlight film that I'll produce ultimately. But for example, with Sophie Cunningham, one fan shouted out, "Lexie, Sophie re-signed with the Fever." And Sophie basically just said, "Hey, tell them to pay us." Not referring to the Fever, I don't think, more so the WNBA collective bargaining agreement. I thought it was funny. After the round, the media moderator in the room said, "Hey guys, no questions on CBAs for Caitlyn." And like, I was the only basketball reporter in there. Most had no idea what CBA was or what it was referring to when he said that. But that was another funny moment of putting Caitlyn in a competitive environment, something she hasn't experienced since mid-July, but just a kind of a different universe. And one of the things she liked doing was playing with Nelly Korda, a player that she's developed a relationship with since last year when they played 9 holes in this Pro-Am together. They were paired again in the front 9 here today. Again, Caitlyn kind of used some wisdom from Nelly's swing coach to get some ideas for her about what was working. I didn't think her swing was as smooth as it normally does, that she was a little bit stiff, it seemed, using more arms and legs as well. But she's a good golfer. Look, she had a crooked stick head cover on her back. She plays out there a lot, plays at other courses throughout Indiana. This is a sport she grew up playing in West Des Moines, Iowa, and ultimately a sport that you can play the rest of her life. It was something that she did while at Iowa, and obviously before that growing up, and then right now here in Indiana. No real update on how she's doing from a body standpoint and physicality and health-wise, but I mean, the fact that she was able to play 18 holes, feel comfortable, look relatively comfortable, having to do the journey up and down walking and such, I thought that was a positive thing to come out of today's day. But again, just a great Pro-Am. Had an honor of coming down here and privilege to cover it and be inside the ropes, covering all 18 holes, following along with this group. And it's funny to try to put this into terms you might understand. For example, the group inside the ropes, the cameras just following Caitlyn and her group were larger than any other Pro-Am group that I saw out there. Most have 2, 3, 4 followers. Caitlyn, she has 3, 4 security members, and security was obviously ramped up here primarily because of Kai Trump, the granddaughter of President Donald Trump, participating in this. She was a sponsorship exemption and invite taking part in this, much like Lauryn Nguyen was, that participated in Caitlyn's Pro-Am. So wrapping up a great day, wanted to provide you with a recap of Caitlyn and her involvement, a lot more interviews to come, and plenty of highlights and photos as well. So to wrap things up here at Pelican Golf Club in Belleair, Florida, I'm Scott Agness of FieldhouseFiles.com. Make sure you're subscribed there and to my YouTube channel to get all the latest with Caitlyn, with the Fever, and the Indiana Pacers.